French voters began casting ballots in the first round of parliamentary elections that could put their government in the hands of far-right parties for the first time since the Nazi era.
Officials in Ukraine say at least 11 people were killed in Russian attacks across the country on Saturday.
At least 4 people were killed after flooding and landslides caused by heavy storms struck Switzerland and northern Italy. French voters began casting ballots in the first round of parliamentary elections that could put their government in the hands of far-right parties for the first time since the Nazi era. 3 major political blocs are competing: the far-right National Rally, French President Emmanuel Macron's centrist alliance, and the new Popular Front coalition made up of centre-left, green and hard-left forces. French polling stations opened at 8 a.m. on Sunday, with official results expected late Sunday night. The 2-round snap election is set to conclude on July the 7th. President Macron called the snap election following the far-right National Rally's success in European Parliament elections in June.
Officials in Ukraine say at least 11 people were killed in Russian attacks across the country on Saturday. Moscow has stepped up airstrikes in a bid to drain Ukraine's resources, often targeting energy facilities and other vital infrastructure. In a post on X, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said 7 people had been killed in missile strikes on the town of Vilnyansk. He also repeated his appeal for more weapons and better air defense systems from Western allies. The Ukrainian Air Force said on Saturday that it had downed 10 Russian drones launched in overnight attacks. Meanwhile, Russian officials said at least 5 people had been killed in Ukrainian strikes in the Kursk region. A senior Hamas official has said that no progress has been made in ceasefire talks with Israel over ending the war in Gaza. Speaking at a press conference in Beirut, Osama Hamdan said the group is prepared to deal positively with any ceasefire proposal that brings about an end to the fighting. Efforts by Arab mediators, supported by the United States, have failed to strike a conclusive cessation of hostilities, with Hamas and Israel blaming each other for the lack of progress. Hamas says any deal must include the full withdrawal of the Israeli military from Gaza, but Israel has only agreed in principle to temporary pauses in fighting until Hamas is completely eradicated. The Hamas-run health ministry says almost 38,000 Palestinians have been killed in more than 8 months of fighting, but it doesn't distinguish between civilians and combatants in its count.
At least 4 people were killed after flooding and landslides caused by heavy storms struck Switzerland and northern Italy. The bodies of 3 people were recovered after a landslide in the Italian-speaking Swiss county of Ticino on the southern side of the Alps. People were evacuated and bridges collapsed after heavy rain pounded parts of the country throughout the weekend. Further north, the Rhone River burst its banks in several areas within the Valais region, flooding a motorway and railway line. Floods, thunderstorms and landslides also hit regions in Italy. Firefighters said they carried out about 80 rescue operations, evacuating dozens of people in the northern Piedmont region. Several villages in the Valle d'Aosta region were isolated due to overflowing streams, storms and landslides. Near Montanaro, 2 adults and a 3-month-old girl were rescued after the rising waters left them stuck in their car.